Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning to find that the work permit you've been counting on for the next 5 years is now only valid for 18 months. Your H-1B registration fee just jumped from $10 to $215. And if you're waiting for a green card interview, you might be waiting until next summer instead of next month. This isn't a nightmare scenario. This is the reality of USCIS policy changes rolling out right now for 2026. And if you're an immigrant, visa holder, or someone planning to come to the United States, these changes are going to impact every single step of your journey. I'm going to break down exactly what's happening, who it affects, and most importantly, what you need to do right now to protect yourself. Let's start with the biggest shock to the system. If you're holding an employment authorization document, you need to pay attention because the rules just changed dramatically. The automatic extension of work permits ended on December 5, 2025 Holland and Night, and the validity period has been slashed. The maximum validity for work permits has been reduced from 5 years to just 18 months for multiple categories, Mayor Brown, including people applying for asylum, humanitarian programs, and even those in the process of adjusting status to become permanent residents. What does this mean for you? It means you're going to be filing renewal applications more frequently, paying more fees, and spending more time navigating the bureaucracy. For employers, this creates a compliance nightmare because you need to track expiration dates more carefully and ensure your employees maintain valid work authorization. The days of setting it and forgetting it for 5 years are over. Now let's talk about the H-1B visa program because this affects hundreds of thousands of skilled workers and the companies that employ them. The H-1B lottery registration fee has increased from $10 to $215 till immigration, which is more than a 20-fold increase. This isn't just a small administrative adjustment. For companies that register multiple candidates, this represents a significant financial burden right at the beginning of the process, before you even know if you've won the lottery. And here's something critical that many people don't realize. The system remains beneficiary-centric, meaning you only get one chance in the lottery per passport till immigration, no matter how many employers want to sponsor you. If you're planning to apply for the fiscal year 2026 lottery, you need to coordinate early with your employer, make sure your passport is valid, and ensure every detail is submitted accurately within the short registration window because there are no second chances. But the challenges don't stop with fees. If you're waiting for a visa interview at a U, some consular posts have reduced available interview slots and canceled or delayed appointments originally scheduled for December 2025 to early spring or summer 2026, Mayor Brown. This is happening because the Department of State has implemented new vetting protocols that require officers to review social media activity and conduct more thorough background checks. If you have a visa interview scheduled, don't be surprised if it gets rescheduled. And if you're planning international travel, build in significantly more buffer time than you would have needed just a year ago. Here's something that's flying under the radar but could have massive implications. USCIS announced that the agency will consider country-specific factors when adjudicating immigration benefit requests, Mayor Brown, and these factors will be treated as significant negative considerations in your case. This affects applications for work authorization, travel documents, green cards, visa extensions, and status changes. If you're from one of the countries on the list that's been flagged for insufficient vetting and screening information, your application is going to face additional scrutiny. This doesn't mean automatic denial, but it does mean longer processing times and potentially more requests for evidence. Let's talk about marriage-based green cards because there's been a major shift in how these cases are being handled. There are reports of increased scrutiny in marriage-based permanent residency interviews, Mayor Brown, with officers conducting closer reviews of immigration history, looking at things like prior visits on visa waiver programs or any gaps in your legal status after filing your green card application. USCIS has also updated its guidance to clarify when interviews are required and when they might issue a notice to appear, which is the document that puts you in removal proceedings. If you're going through a marriage-based green card process, preparation is everything. You need to have documentation ready to explain every aspect of your immigration history and be prepared to demonstrate that your marriage is genuine. Now here's a change that affects everyone applying for immigration benefits. USCIS issued new guidance, making it more likely the agency will issue a notice to appear if a case is denied and the person no longer has valid status till immigration. This is particularly concerning for people whose status has expired, anyone who files applications late or with incomplete information, or individuals who might have issues related to fraud or misrepresentation. The consequences of receiving an NTA are serious because once you're placed in removal proceedings, your options become much more limited and you'll need to fight your case in immigration court. The message is clear: don't let your status lapse. File everything on time and make sure your applications are complete and accurate. The Visa Bulletin for January 2026 brought some good news for certain categories, but the overall system remains backlogged. Mexico saw the most significant forward movement across multiple family-based preference categories Newsweek, with some categories jumping 6 months. For employment-based green cards, there was progress for India and China in certain categories, but millions of people are still waiting years for their priority dates to become current. What this means practically is that if you're in the green card queue, you need to monitor the Visa Bulletin every month and be ready to act quickly when your priority date becomes current because processing times are unpredictable. There's also been a change to biometric photo requirements that many people aren't aware of. USCIS has tightened its photo reuse policy, now allowing reuse only if an applicant's biometrics photo is less than 3 years old boundless. If your photo is older than 3 years, you must attend a new biometrics appointment before USCIS can issue your green card, work permit, or other documents. This replaces the more flexible pandemic-era policies, so don't be surprised if you get called in for another biometrics appointment, even if you recently had one. Let me talk about something that's causing real fear in immigrant communities. USCIS field offices have been instructed to send potential denaturalization cases to federal litigators in fiscal year 2026 boundless, which represents a significant departure from past practice. This affects naturalized U.S. citizens and could mean that citizenship obtained years or even decades ago might be challenged. While denaturalization has always been possible in cases involving fraud or misrepresentation, the scale of this initiative is unprecedented. If you naturalized and there were any complications or issues in your immigration history, you might want to consult with an immigration attorney about your situation. For those of you waiting on diversity visa lottery results, there's been a major disruption. The Trump administration has suspended the diversity visa lottery program boundless, and while the administration hasn't said how long this suspension will last, it's creating uncertainty for thousands of people who were selected or planning to apply. The program typically issues up to 50,000 green cards annually to people from countries with low U.S. immigration rates. Here's what you need to do right now to protect yourself in this changing environment. First, if you have any immigration application pending or coming due, don't wait until the last minute. Processing times are longer than ever, and you can't count on the system working quickly. Second, if you're on a work permit that's expiring soon, file your renewal application as early as possible because there are no more automatic extensions to save you. Third, check your immigration status and make absolutely sure you're maintaining valid status at all times. With USCIS being more aggressive about issuing notices to appear for people who fall out of status, you cannot afford to have gaps in your legal presence. Fourth, if you have a visa interview scheduled, review your social media presence carefully because consular officers are now looking at your online activity as part of the vetting process. Remove anything that could be misunderstood or raise questions. Fifth, if you're planning any international travel, coordinate carefully with an immigration attorney because the landscape has changed significantly and what was safe 6 months ago might not be safe today. The fees are also increasing across the board, starting January 1, 2026. USCIS has issued a Federal Register notice, increasing certain immigration-related fees for fiscal year 2026 to reflect inflation USCIS. This includes everything from application fees to biometric services fees. You need to check the USCIS website for the current fee schedule, because if you submit an application with the wrong fee after January 1st, it will be rejected and you'll lose valuable time. One more critical point. If you're applying for an EB-2 national interest waiver, the standards have gotten stricter. USCIS now expects more concrete proof of your impact, not just potential, meaning officers want to see real achievements, measurable contributions, and evidence that your work is tied to national priorities till immigration like STM artificial intelligence, healthcare, clean energy, or cybersecurity. You need documentation showing that you've already made significant contributions, not just that you could make them in the future. For families trying to stay together through the immigration process, the Child Status Protection Act rules have also been updated, which affects older teenagers who are aging out of derivative status. The calculations for determining a child's age for immigration purposes have been clarified, but these changes can make it harder for some children to qualify as derivatives on their parents' petitions. If you have children approaching 21 years old and you're in the immigration process, this is something you need to understand completely because the consequences of aging out are severe. The bottom line is this: the immigration system in 2026 is more complex, more expensive, more time-consuming, and more unpredictable than it has been in years. These aren't minor tweaks to the system. These are fundamental shifts in how the government approaches immigration enforcement and benefit adjudication. Whether you're a student on an F1 visa, a skilled worker on an H-1B, someone waiting for a family-based green card, or a permanent resident considering naturalization, these changes are going to touch your life. The people who are going to navigate this successfully are the ones who stay informed, plan ahead, maintain meticulous records, and don't take chances with their immigration status. Don't wait for a crisis to figure out where you stand. Check your status now, understand your timelines, and if anything seems unclear or complicated, talk to a qualified immigration attorney who can help you navigate this new landscape. The rules have changed, and the stakes have never been higher for immigrants in America. If this video helped you understand what's happening with you, USCIS policy changes, do me a favor and hit that like button so more people can find this information. Share this with anyone you know who's going through the immigration process because they need to know what's coming. And subscribe to this channel because I'll be tracking every single development and policy change as it happens. Drop a comment below and let me know how these changes are affecting you or what questions you have. I read every comment and I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to immigration. Stay informed, stay prepared, and don't let these changes catch you off guard. I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive even deeper into specific visa categories and what you need to know to protect your American dream.